Guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a beginner's guide. I know there's a surge of new players, so I decided to do another one. And I'm guessing you're probably new to this channel. If that is true, hit that subscribe button because it means the absolute world to me. If you've never played the Apocalypse Rising series, Apocalypse Rising is just a survival shooter game where you go around the map, get some supplies, kill other players, get their loot, die, and repeat. That's about it as of now until they add base building, where it's going to be a completely different cycle. Very excited for base building, all in all, but that's coming in the near future. Definitely keeping an eye out for that. So we're going to be going over a few different categories. I'll leave the timestamps in the description if you want to check those out and skip through them and everything. But we'll be going over like pretty much the basics you need to know. I do have other videos that I'm going to link in the description that follow along with this one, so keep a lookout for that. Before you even get into game, you're just going to want to go to your settings right on the home menu here. You're going to want to change the default ones because honestly, the default ones are not too great. Keybinds, I guess these are all personal preference. Like for me, for example, I have my looting as inventory as G instead of tab. Usually it's tab, but I changed mine to G just because it's my personal preference and it's just so much easier for me. But in the actual settings, only thing you really need to mess with here is the accessibility one. Mainly the FOV, which just makes a wider camera view when you play. But the default setting for this, I think, is 70. You probably just want to crank that all the way up to max. I like mine at 85, but that's just me. And also, automatic ladders and automatic vaulting. If you want to walk up to ladders and not have to click a button to climb them, have that on. Same with vaulting. Vaulting is just climbing over things. But otherwise, everything else is up to your preferences. There is a Roblox FPS unlocker, which bumps up your frame rate to 60 FPS. Because usually, when you get into APOC, or any, I guess, Roblox game, you're going to be under 60 FPS because Roblox does not have VSync. And VSync allows you to have 60 FPS, so I'd highly recommend downloading an FPS unlocker. Also, if you want to toggle some of your Roblox settings, this is what I have it set to. You're probably going to want to change your camera sensitivity down and stuff like that. Otherwise, you can just leave all this stuff default. But that's about it. When you get into game, you're probably going to get one of these spawns here where you're just like in the middle of nowhere. You want to try to avoid looting these houses, like these small ones at least, that are like isolated from things. I mean, some of them are decently good, but most of them don't really have anything in them. I mean, if you even walk in, I mean, they'll have a little safe and everything. You can find a gun and a backpack maybe. But the majority of the loot is pretty much going to be in bigger towns. For example, I don't want to go looting around these like small houses here, like stranded in the middle of nowhere. Most of the time, they're not going to have anything of value. You want to probably go to these bigger towns, Ashland, Radio. I mean, the bigger landmarks that you can see around the map. And in terms of looting these bigger towns here, you're going to find just a lot more stuff. Are you serious? You're already going to find lots of stuff. I already got a Thompson. Way better than a shotgun that you can find at those small houses. I mean, otherwise, most of the loot is probably going to come from killing players, as I just did. I already got a Mosin. If you're really new, you're probably going to want to maybe avoid this for a little bit until you get used to the basics. But regardless, these are so much better than just looting the small stuff. But yeah, looting these instead of those small houses, it's just going to be so much faster in terms of loot progression. So if you're new and you just finished looting the entire town, your inventory is probably going to look like this. Just a bunch of garbage. Don't do this. This is a bad practice right here. This is what you should not do. What you should do is not carry any ammo that you don't need. Take that out, so I don't need that. Make sure you combine your ammo so it fits in one area. Remove any clothes you don't need. Car parts you definitely do not need unless you actually find a car, so take those out too. Any guns that you don't have or require certain ammo, get rid of them. Stamina boosters you honestly don't really need either, so get rid of that. This is what the inventory should really look like in reality. The stuff you only need. I mean, in reality, you don't even need an apple either because they're not that good. All organized. No garbage you don't need. Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many people with a bunch of garbage in their inventory. It's unbelievable. While looking in your inventory, you're probably going to see something that looks like this. This is called a utility slot. You find flashlights, lanterns, chem lights, rangefinders, binoculars. You're able to put them in these slots without taking up any inventory space. And you're able to access it via in this little, I guess, secondary inventory here. It's also worth mentioning that try not to loot these small little things here because it's just not worth it. I mean, even these things are not worth it in reality. Obviously, you can find some stuff in here, but it's just going to slow you down a lot. People will take an hour to loot an entire house, in reality, you don't really need to do that, because all you really need to do is look for gun crates, maybe a little bit of food if you need it, and that's about it. And maybe a backpack, for example, which you can find in some of these things. Really, nothing else here is like notable worth looting. I mean, if you're looking for clothes, then yeah, I guess you could just look through all this stuff here. But even that, it's like, what are you doing? Also, if you guys are interested in more of how to loot things, I made a video on a guide to looting, so I'll leave it in the description if you guys want to check that out. When it comes to vehicles, there's a few things you're going to want to know about them. When you find a vehicle, it's probably going to be like all broken down and everything, as you can tell. What you're going to do is always fix the back tires first and not the front ones, because all the vehicles in this game are rear wheel drive. So let's say we have all bad tires here and we want to drive it. You're going to see how slow this thing goes. This thing barely even moves like over 20 miles an hour. And if we fixed only the back tires, this is what's going to happen. So now both back tires are fixed. As you can see, this is going like at least 3 times faster, hitting up to 60 without any of the front tires. And even if I did fix the front tires, you can see how much of a difference that even makes. And as you can see, it literally just goes about the same. When you're driving at nighttime, make sure you always keep your lights off, or at least if you want to, because you're going to attract a lot less attention with lights off rather than on. When you're refueling your car at the gas station, there's a cool little trick that you can do. When you have the gas can in your inventory, what you can do is, when you're in third person, so zoom out with your middle mouse button, you can see that there's 2 options for fill and like the fuel. You can do it both at the same time, which in the end just makes it like 2 times as faster. So you don't need to keep looking back, refueling, and then refueling the car. You can just do it both at the same time, and it goes really fast. This is something that a lot of people tend to do, so make sure you guys learn this trick. And if you didn't know, vehicles also have little storage compartments. They're usually located on the back of anything. There's your little small compartments for all your garbage that you collect. Even normal cars, I mean, this is not a functioning car, but on the back, this is where it would be, for example. And this is like your storage, your trunk. The one thing I hate seeing new players do is shoot zombies, because what it just does is it makes you get noticed so much more easier. Like, if, let's say, there's people in Ash right now, and if I just shoot this zombie, they're just going to hear this, and then they're just going to come over here. So don't do that. You don't want to shoot the zombies unless they're, like, the boss zombies, which I will get to. If you see a zombie, you have a pocket knife for a reason. When the zombie just comes up to you, just knife it 3 times, depending on what, melee weapon you have. If you have a katana, it does 2 hits. Pocket knife does 3. And I guess everything varies. A big thing to note when it comes to zombies is that there's different types of zombies in this game. You have like normal ones like these that are just relatively slow, and the damage they do is very minimal. As you can tell, they're just doing 15 per hit. So those are the normal ones you're gonna see most of the time. On a rare occasion, you're gonna see something called boss zombies. And this is something called a mini boss or boss zombie. These things will have guns on their backs, and they will be very, very hard to kill. Although they do have the same health as a normal zombie, they're gonna hit and move a lot faster than the normal ones. If I take one out here, look how fast they're going, and they'll hit really fast. They're doing 25 per hit. And usually they'll drop some kind of weapons or supplies or whatnot. Like I just got a Makarov from this guy. Usually what I like to do with these guys is actually shoot them, because it's really hard to melee these guys. Because look, they're just coming after me really 20 per hit. And they hit faster than a normal one. And I just got an AK from this guy. So that is another good way to get geared, I guess, an alternative way. So always make sure you look out for them. The most important thing about zombies is that if you're walking into a town and you hear zombie noises, that usually means there's somebody in the town already. So just be ready for that. As you can hear, there's the guy right there. Anytime you hear zombies, that's a good indication of people being in the town. But even if you see dead zombies on the ground, that usually means somebody was either just there or is there. But those are the main 2, dead zombies and the sounds of zombies. So this is probably the most important portion of the video, which is combat. This is the biggest portion that new players get completely wrong. Really, the first thing is understanding first and third person. Most people run around like this, but in reality you should be running around like this in third person. And how you do that is you move your mouse scroll wheel, if you didn't know how to do that. So make sure you utilize first and third person efficiently so you don't screw yourself over. Also, a good thing to note is that you can change the holster side of your gun by pressing Q. So you can change it to right or left. I like left because I'm just a lefty. Even if you're in third person, you can still change direction so you can see a little bit more. Also, make sure to have your sound on. I see a lot of new players just running around. They'll be shots like literally 2 feet from them, and they will not be phased at all. And then they just end up dying anyways. When it comes to healing, when you're in combat, there are 3 types of medkits: the small, the large, and the military medkit. These will all heal different amounts of health. So the small is 50, large 75, and military 100. But along with that, they have different intensities of how fast they get applied to. Like the small one, as you can see, is very slow. The large one is even faster. And the military one is the fastest. But there's also something called health boosters, which can increase your health if you're in a fight. So when that's applied, you can see that it increases my health by 50. This is the best one. The military one is the best one. There's also a small one that does 25 health only. There's also a new one called the Scurvy Tonic. That thing will hold for 210 seconds. It looks like a giant maple syrup bottle. As you get familiar with guns, there's going to be slots for attachments and skins on them. Now, not all guns are going to be able to have all attachments on them. Like, for example, this is going to be able to have a sight and a suppressor. And this can have a sight, suppressor, and then a additional like attachment like a laser sight, or they are making a flashlight as well. This is what all these sights look like if you're curious. We have 3 different types of grips as well. We have the short foregrip, we have the folding foregrip, and we have the straight foregrip. Now all of these have different stats to them. Like some of them will decrease recoil, increase aim speed, stuff like that, hip fire, and all that stuff. So make sure to understand all of these. So guns will react differently if you don't use them with attachment. They make me like giggle. And be aware that there is recoil in this game. So when I shoot, it's gonna go upwards. So what you have to do with your mouse is pull downwards. As you can see, the lines on the wall just go straight up. There's no pattern or anything. So if you just pull your mouse down while you're shooting, you'll get something like this. If there were zombies in here and you're trying to find a guy and you want to blend in with the zombie's footsteps, you don't want to crouch and walk around because he'll just hear you and your footsteps sound completely different from the zombie's footsteps. What you want to do is take out your combat weapon and right click it and walk. You can see how much slower and more sounding like a zombie this is. If your health is low and you're in a scenario where you don't have any medkits, you can food heal. So if you eat any food item and your food is almost to 100 and you eat something, as you can see, it increases your health by whatever amount, 20 for me. So me and my friend are going to do a little bit of a combat thing here, 1v1, to show you guys what it would really look like. We both have normal guns, nothing special. Like I have an M9 and a Tommy. My friend's got like I think he has an M3A1. But also when you're going into combat, make sure you pay attention, or even if you're far back, make sure you pay attention to the gun sounds or start memorizing them, because you'll be able to pick up on if it's a geared person or not. You can see I'm being in third person, looking out for him, because if I was in first person, this is all I would see, and I see him right now on the fire station. Ah, jeez. I always try to reposition myself, because if I shoot at one place, I'm not just going to sit there. Or at least as much as I can. This is also a tactic that you should do with bigger groups. Reposition yourself. Well, now I lost him, so much for positioning. You also get stunned from falling, I forgot to say that. So anytime you fall, you cannot instantly shoot. Okay, this is round 2. I'm going to do a different approach. Alright, so I killed him. Always try to stay behind cover and try not to peek too much. I have a tendency to peek a lot, so that's why I die. But that's the gist of combat. As you roam around the map, you're going to see these certain like objects appear and disappear around the map. And those are called events. This is like the best one. It's called a heli crash. This is like the meta. You can find different types of loot here, and there's going to be different zombies that spawn all around it. Even those zombies will drop stuff from it. But be careful, because these are actually the boss zombies with the guns on the back. So they'll attack you very quickly. Very good gear that spawns here. Most of the time, at least. There are some terrible heli crashes that aren't the best. But besides this heli crash, there's probably like 15 other alternative ones. There's like ATVs, there's the police convoy. Usually roads do not have any cars on them, but if you do see a car with zombies around them, then that means it's a certain event and you can find loot there. But if you're interested in finding more of these heli crashes, I'm going to put a map on screen right now that you can see. But these are all the heli crash spawns that you can find around the map. Hopefully this beginner's guide was better than the last one. Hopefully you guys learned something new. And thank you guys for watching. This has been Zach, and as always, have an amazing day.